I don't think I've ever had more requests to watch a single video more than this one. So many comments and DMs and posts about it. I gotta admit though, I am so excited for Oversimplified's return. It's been like 9 months in the making. Of course, as always, if you haven't seen the original video itself, please go watch that first and then come back here. I'll leave links in the description for that. So we're learning about the First Punic War. War between Rome and Carthage.
Kiss me.
Pretty big deal for the rest of the Roman Empire. It's like the big start, their big
Hi, son, just reading the newspaper. What can I do for
origin story.
Well, you know how you always say Rome is the greatest civilization in the world? It bloody well is. Well, I was just wondering, what makes us
Wait a
so
second.
great?
I really love this plaque right here.
How did we come to be? Wow, my son. Boy, let me take you on a journey to this side of the room.
Oh,
the story
I love this
of
song.
Rome begins with these beautiful...
Warning, tales contained within the slideshow presentation may be partially or entirely mythical. I can only imagine.
The story of Rome begins with these beautiful
Oh, here we
baby
go.
boys going to
Oh, that's
town.
so interesting. I usually put monetization signs on the nips themselves. Yeah, Rome had a really weird mythical thing. Isn't this close to the way Turkey thought like their country began?
On some she-wolf mommy milkers. That's gross. You're gross. Sorry, son. You're
Already
not
like 30
gross.
seconds in,
I
and we're
love you.
talking
They're
about
called
that.
Romulus and Remus, and when they grew up in 753
One's
BC,
gonna shank the other.
they founded Rome. But there was just one problem. They couldn't agree on which of them should be the king. But they worked it out.
Look, he's already
peacefully,
ready.
Right? Oh, heavens no. Romulus caved Remus's skull in with a shovel.
Oh,
a picture.
I thought it was
Our
a
first
shank.
king committed fratricide? I know.
Mhm.
But look at his face. When's the part where we become the greatest
It's
civilization,
just a
Dad?
prank, bro.
Well, you see, at first Rome was full of men. I'm talking like a real sausage party. You know what I mean? Yes, sir. So we invited some neighboring cities over for a
We're gonna
big
talk about
feast, and then
how much
we
Greece
literally
is
kidnapped all of their
influenced
women.
Rome.
Here's a picture. Look
Wow.
at that one. She's like, this is messed up. You're messed up. Ugh. Sorry. I'll be
The
a better
joke's
father.
already,
I
we're
promise.
already with so
then,
many jokes.
Finally, after centuries of monarchy, those tyrannical
funny.
kings started getting a little too big for their britches. So we overthrew the kings and established Rome as a republic. Is that when all the killing stopped? Oh, heavens no. That's when
It's
the
never
killing
going to.
surged, baby. We went wild and conquered the Latin League, the Samnites,
Yep.
the Etruscans.
Got that
Woo!
whole like
What a
Naples
rush.
region.
Dad, Rome seems pretty barbaric. You're barbaric! Oh, I forgot to tell you about the time a prophet told Saturn his son would one day overthrow him. So Saturn literally ate his own son seconds after he was born. I don't
Yeah.
want to see a picture.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, let's
Dad,
please. This is
look
one of
at
my
that.
favorite
That's
pictures.
messed up, man. Are we
Because
really
it's
this
just so
uncivilized?
horrific.
Hey! If we were
I shouldn't
so
say that
uncivilized,
out
would we
loud,
use
actually.
communal
I
toilets
probably
where
should
we
have
all
kept that
fart
as
and
my
poo together
secret.
in one big stinky, steamy, dirty toilet room? Yeah, Dad. We would. Clean your butt with a sponge,
The communal
But all these guys
sponge.
just used it. What's wrong with your
This is
son,
one of my
bro?
favorite
I
parts
don't
about
wanna be
Rome. I grew up in the wrong generation. Fellas, is you really homies with your homies if you haven't shared a communal sponge?
Roman. This is so weird. You're weird. Sorry, you're not weird.
I need to
I'm
be able
sure
to
you're
stare across
probably fine.
two at the same time. Oh, no. First Punic War. I'm so excited. Again, this is one of
Roman Republic,
my favorite
a
topics,
nation that,
or a
since its
topic. I just like
foundation,
topics
had
where I
been
don't know
stabbing
much
necks all
about.
the way down the Italian peninsula. But this isn't the famous Roman Empire that
I know
ruled
the
known
vague
world.
general
Not yet,
details.
anyway. This is a relatively juvenile Rome,
Yeah.
still just a regional power. In 264 BC, the big daddy of
We
the
still have
Western
Greece, right?
Mediterranean was Carthage. Let's rewind a bit. Carthage was founded in 814 BC when some Phoenicians in Tyre had a mega surplus of goods. And
Are we gonna talk
decided
about
to
the sea
export those
people?
goods
I
across
think the sea people were
Mediterranean.
before this time,
They
weren't they?
became the dominant trading power in the region.
Just called
And
the
to
sea
support their
people.
growing trade network, the Phoenicians established
were
a
they?
number of colonies, one of which was Carthage. Therefore, Carthage began its life as a Phoenician trade colony, and the Carthaginians were actually Phoenicians. Or, if you're
I know we're going to talk about
Latin-speaking
salts,
Roman,
salts,
they
the
were
earth.
Punic.
Also, we're going
Hence
to talk
the
about the
name of the
Alps
video.
and
Over the centuries, Carthage
elephants?
gradually expanded and became the region's base of power. Just like Rome, Carthage was a semi-democratic republic with its own senate and judiciary. But there were also some pretty hefty differences between the two. While Rome was big into farming and stabbing people in the neck, the Carthaginians,
nice.
on the other hand, just like their Phoenician forefathers, had built their power through trade and navigating the waves. They went here and there, selling ivory tusks, gold, and slaves. And
So
as a result,
elephants
they
was their thing.
were rolling in it. Whenever they weren't busy swimming around in their copious hoards of money, in their spare time, they also possibly enjoyed sacrificing their children to Baal, the god of... Let me just check my notes. Ah, yes. Plant fertility. Oh boy, these figs aren't looking too hot.
How exactly
Maybe if
did
I
they...
throw my son into a burning pit of fire, they'll grow. Have you tried watering them, Dad?
This is some interesting lore.
No, we'll try that second. As a result of all their trading,
Is this where the
Carthage had
Aztecs were
emerged as one of
influenced
the
by?
Mediterranean superpowers. But wait, they said. Rome? What the heck is that? Well, I know it's a pretty obscure little country that you've probably never heard of. But this spunky young nation was about to upset the entire region's balance of power. Initially, the two sides enjoyed relatively friendly relations. And it even
Yeah, they
signed
had
a
to have
couple
gotten along
treaties.
for a little bit in the
But
beginning.
it was a relationship that was practically destined to turn sour. See, Rome had a thing where they liked to aggressively expand their boundaries, often viewing such expansion as a defensive act. Kinda like when you kill your neighbor.
I mean, they started
because
pretty
you knew
tiny
eventually
already.
They would have tried to kill
think it's
you
pretty
first.
expected.
Meanwhile, Carthage was extremely protective of its wealthy trade network. So if you put a very strategically
In a way, wasn't
important
Carthage
island
also? Look how
between
big they got.
well, 2 + 2 = war. Tensions rose, and the two sides began viewing each other with increasing disdain. The hard-working Romans looked across the water at the money-hungry Carthaginians and said, "Look at those dishonest crooks. Bet they've never done an honest day's work in their lives." And the Carthaginians looked back and said, "Look at those simple-minded brutes. Bet they've never sacrificed a baby in their lives." Yeah! While war between the two
What's better though? Pushing your kid into a pit of fire or like putting your hand through your chest and grabbing out their still beating heart? I don't know why I'm bringing this up right now.
Powers seemed inevitable. The event that finally triggered it was a little unexpected. The whole thing began with a few simple mad lads on a wild night
Mad
out.
lads.
These mad lads are called the Mamertines. They were Italian mercenaries employed by the tyrant of Syracuse. Here, but when he died,
Syracuse.
his successor said, "Sorry, fellas, we
didn't
don't
know
need
that
any
was
big burly
Italian.
men with sharp sticks anymore. You
Or
can
from
all
Sicily.
go home." The Mamertines, as it turned out, didn't want to go home. So instead, they went to the nearby town of Messana and said, "Hey man, we are but poor little buff boys without a home. May we
You want
come
a
in?"
party?
Aw, poor fellas. Sure thing. Just so long as you promise not to massacre all of us.
Oh,
We
they were just trying to do a
promise.
little bit of trolling.
The Mamertines then massacred all of them. Well, not all of them, just the men. And they
Little
stole
bit
their
troll.
homes and families. Ha! This is my house now. This is my best dad ever mug now. And
Crazy
you guys
how
are my
good
new
Oversimplified
family.
is at
Son,
dealing with
Wanna go play catch with your old
some actually
papa?
pretty
You're not
dark
my real dad.
dark topics.
Ugh, teenagers.
Well, I mean, that's
You're
how
not-
this is the most original emo origin story. I think we all turned emo after playing one game of Among Us. I'm a pretty big date guy. I need to know exactly when this is all happening. So 264 to 146 BC. But it sounds like we're mostly going to deal with the island of Sicily because we're talking about the first Punic War. Best dad ever. And he's dead.
Catch with your old papa. You're not my real dad. Ugh, teenagers.
Wait,
Go play
what did I
catch with
say?
your old papa.
Is that
You're not my
My Chemical Bromance? Literally me 10 years ago.
dad. Ugh, teenagers. Am I right, dear? You're not my real husband. Ugh, I'm so trapped in this marriage. Then get out. No, Messana was now controlled by the Mamertines, and they began raiding up and down the Syracuse coastline. When the new ruler of Syracuse saw this, he wasn't happy. The Syracusans began fighting back. and
Love
in
the flag.
response, The Mamertines said, "Oh crap, they're fighting back? What do we do? Quick, we'll convince the Carthaginians to come and save us." Oh no! We're in trouble. And we need a big, strong empire to come and rub our bellies. Why are you saying it like that? If I was a big, strong empire, I think I'd like to be seduced.
True.
See?
That's where it all starts.
The Carthaginians had long dreamed of controlling all of Sicily. They had been fighting Syracuse and their Greek influence on the island for centuries. And now, here was a great opportunity to get one over on them. So Carthage promptly answered the Mamertines' cry for help and sent a force to garrison Messana. As it turned out, however,
I'm
some
going to
within the ranks
assume
of
the Carthaginians had the
weren't too
island of
happy with the
Malta.
occupying Carthaginians,
I don't know why I'm
and
thinking
they
about that
sent
right
out
now.
a second cry for help to Rome. When it reached the Roman Senate,
Dear Rome, please come and rub our bellies.
were a little more hesitant. Going to help the Mamertines ran the risk
How could
of
they
triggering
resist
an
that
all-out war with
request?
Carthage, and they had only just finished
I wouldn't be
conquering the
able to.
Italian peninsula, so they were kind of tired. Plus,
I
the
need a
Mamertines
break.
were all the way across the water.
That reminded me of
They'd
the
never made a
French
leap like
Revolution
that
one with the
before.
guy always in the
So you'd
bathtub.
assume that to avoid any conflict with Carthage, the exhausted
I'm sure there's
Romans
probably
would
some
probably
great
sit this
Easter eggs
one
of that
out.
already of other
But you
past
would
episodes.
assume wrong. Rome just couldn't resist a good chance for war. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Rome. See, as
Warrior
a republic,
culture?
they were hell-bent on preventing any one man from ever gaining too much power. And so rather than having one leader, Rome had two, called consuls, who shared power. These consuls could also only serve for 1 year at a time before new consuls
Well,
were
things
elected.
would change eventually,
These
right?
measures
But
to limit
at this
the
time,
powers of the consuls were noble, but had an interesting side effect. The consuls knew they had just 1 year to try and gain
weird
as much
that
glory.
Rome had the whole consul thing, yet Romulus killed Remus because they only wanted one. If only he knew.
And prestige as possible, something that was very important in Roman society. And the best way of gaining glory and prestige? Military victory, of course. The Roman
yes.
political system basically ended up in
Roman politics and military were intertwined. Senators were often also military generals. Consuls led the army. Consuls served. There you go. That's what you have to do. Let your leader lead the army. Consuls had 1 year to go and crack as many skulls as possible. Sounds fun.
urging these consuls to go out and be as aggressive as your Italian grandmother when you don't eat all the spaghetti. And so
Oh,
the
I thought he was going to
glory-seeking
say when you break
consuls
the noodles,
convinced the
when you do
people
this,
to vote in
and then put them in the
favor of
bowl.
going to Messana.
Oh, man.
And
They don't like that.
They went. Upon the arrival of the Romans, the Carthaginians in the city, amongst
Get
the
outta here,
confusion,
bucko.
were forced to leave. Now, in contrast to Roman aggression, the Carthaginian military had a slightly different philosophy. All right, kids, listen up. If you want to grow up to
They're
be
gonna get paddled.
Carthaginian military leaders, there's a few things you have to understand. If you fail to succeed on the battlefield, that's a crucifixion.
Oh.
Showing cowardice, that's a crucifixion. Hello, sir.
Oh.
What are you doing here? Aren't you meant to be in Messana? Yeah, but the Romans showed up. So you just left? Sure did. Oh, you better
guess-
believe that's a crucifixion. The Roman consuls
Okay.
were awarded for victory, and therefore tended to be aggressive go-getters.
instead of
the
being
Carthaginian
punished.
generals were brutally punished for failure, and so they tended to be more cautious and restrained. This dynamic
yeah,
is helpful
huge
for
difference.
understanding some of the crazy things that happened during the Punic Wars. So, the Romans have crossed over to
Say that
Messana,
again.
and now there was some red on the island.
Ooh.
Hit that panic button. This turn of events was unacceptable to both Carthage and Syracuse, so the traditional enemies teamed up to kick the Romans off their island. They surrounded the city and said, "Hey, you jerks! This isn't your island! Come out of there at once!" "Okay, we're coming!" See, Phil, you just gotta speak with authority.
In a way,
That's
this
what
was kind
being
of
an
like
alpha male's
a
all
world
about.
war,
Hey, man.
a world that was known.
You brought your weapons
them.
and armor? No, I didn't mean...
That didn't make any sense.
Oh, crap. Out the Roman legions came to engage the Carthaginians.
It's definitely a continental
in battle,
war, right?
And they sent them packing. With the Battle of Messana, whether intended or not, by going to help the Mamertines, the two sides had just slipped into an all-out war.
Mm-hmm.
With the initial Roman victory, towns across Sicily, including Syracuse, began switching allegiance. Because being a winner is more fun. But the
Sometimes,
Carthaginians weren't about
okay,
to
really don't want to make an Italy switches side joke right now, but
give up that easily. In 262 BC, they began building up their forces at Agrigentum. So the Romans, being aggressive go-getters, aggressively go-got them. The Romans immediately laid siege, hoping to starve out the
I love these
Carthaginian
battlefield
garrison.
maps.
However, because this was the first time Rome had been fighting outside the Italian peninsula, across the water, they struggled to supply their forces. And before long, the Romans were as starving as the Carthaginians they were besieging.
When did they learn
had
how to build
forage
roads?
For food, leaving them open to ambush. And when Carthaginian reinforcements
Vietnam
arrived,
tactics.
creating a double siege, things got really bad. Everybody
You could do that?
starved
You
each
can
other
double
for months
siege another
until nobody
siege?
could take it anymore, and they all finally came out for battle.
I don't remember that in
which
Rome Total War.
won. Here's the report from the recent siege at Agrigentum.
wow.
We killed 30,000 while only suffering 7,000 losses?
How?
That's amazing! We're the best! Yes, sir. Whoops, those are the wrong way around.
No.
What? We lost 30,000? We're the worst! But we won, right? Yes, sir.
Well?
But we also got our asses kicked. Yes, sir. So are we the best or
Worth
the
it.
worst? Yes, sir.
Well, okay, yeah, he's got a
The
point.
Romans wanted Agrigentum because they were aggressive go-getters, and they now began eyeing up the possibility of conquering the entire
Crazy
island.
kamikazes.
But they also suffered very heavy losses, and it was clear they couldn't sustain a campaign if they couldn't supply their troops. Here's the issue. Sicily was an island. Islands are
volcano.
surrounded by water. A strong navy would
We're
be
not going to talk
vital
about Mount
for supplying
Vesuvius,
troops
are we?
and
Yeah, I would
winning the
assume
war.
Rome is not
Here
very
was
navally
Carthage's
based.
navy.
Yeah.
And here
Yeah.
was Rome's.
I mean,
I think you can
they
see
just
the
stayed on the
problem.
Italian peninsula, like you said.
Historians debate just how much naval experience Rome had at this point. Presumably, they must have had something to defend their shoreline. But whatever it was, it would have paled in
We haven't
comparison
found,
to the Carthaginian
no
juggernaut.
doubt.
And
Just
so Rome
seeing where
had
they've
to
expanded
figure
on the
out
map, it's
exactly
clear
what
they
to do
had to have
about
had a
all
lot of
this
boats.
water. Come on, men. We're not gonna let
We
some
haven't been able
fancy
to
candy-ass
discover a
water
whole lot
get in
of
the way our
Roman
glorious victory against Carthage.
naval ships,
Charge!
some shipwrecks in the Mediterranean.
Tell my kids
At this time,
I
the old
love
boats.
them.
Oh my God.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. What's a boat? I don't know. If the Romans wanted to win this war and obtain
I thought there was gonna be a
Sicily, there
Jaws
was only
reference there. I
one
mean, it
thing
was.
for them
I
to
thought the
do.
shark was gonna pop
I
up.
guess we're just gonna have
Carthage
to
did
go
have
ahead and
Malta,
build
at least
ourselves
according to
a
that
war
map.
fleet, aren't we? From scratch? From scratch. Well, we don't even know how. Never mind how to fight with one. Don't worry, Hank. We're up to the challenge. Come on, guys. We're Romans, and Romans aren't afraid of anything. And so, the Romans worked long and hard trying to figure out how
to
on
boat.
earth you actually build the latest style of warship.
How
In
do
the
you
end,
boat?
They had a bit of luck on their side.
Yeah, just steal their-
Quinquirium
Yeah.
ended up accidentally grounding on
Oh, that's a
Italian
unique unit from
soil. The
Civilization
Romans found it
5.
and copied the design. While the new fleet was being built, the Romans trained rowers on land. And would you believe it? The Romans put together a full fighting fleet of 120 warships.
That still
in
can't be
just
much.
2 months.
Whoa,
A
compared
staggering
to
feat.
Carthage. That is
Now,
amazing.
I know what you're thinking, but oversimplified. If the Romans can build a war fleet from scratch in 2 months, then why does it take you half a year to make a video?
Oh.
Well, my valued subscriber,
The
I
ads
think
coming
you should shut up. What the heck?
Oh, never mind.
How on earth
we're
did the
talking about
Romans learn
NordVPN.
how to build a war fleet? This shouldn't be happening. From what I hear,
they just-
copied the design
yeah, they
from
just
us,
stole the
sir.
technology.
Well, how on earth did
We've been
they
stealing
get the
technologies
blueprint,
forever.
Carl? I don't know, sir. But I'll tell you what. If you're worried about people stealing your data, no. And you
Oh, yeah,
wanna
there it
protect
is.
yourself from outside threats.
I knew it was
don't
coming.
you dare.
Don't
And
say
you,
it.
my friend, if you mention NordVPN,
Please. Gonna move on.
the siege of
Battlefield
Agrigentum,
time.
supply issues, and building a war fleet.
Since
So
we're talking about
now
the first
Romans
Punic War,
have a navy,
can we
and
assume we're
it's
going to talk
time
about
to
the
put it
other
to the test.
ones
But
in the
how
next
does one
video?
wage ancient naval
Oversimplified?
warfare?
I hope it doesn't take
Easy.
9 months.
All of the ships
Please.
had giant bronze rams on the front, so all you had to do was outmaneuver the enemy and give him the jimmies.
There we go.
Easy as pie.
Yeah.
And so the aggressive Romans set out for some good old-fashioned jimmy giving. The
Why didn't they
consul,
just use
Gnaeus
their
Cornelius
cannons?
Scipio set out for the town of
hope
Lipara,
people
believing the
understand that was
garrison there
sarcasm.
wanted to join the Romans. As he entered the harbor, however, he found himself trapped by a Carthaginian fleet.
Uh-oh.
And in the following skirmish, he was completely outmatched. The
Oh.
Romans may have had a brand new
That must have
fleet,
been the
but
most
when it came to
insane
engaging in
sight
action,
ever. I can't even imagine, like, being on that port city watching, like, just a casual naval battle going on like that. Like, what do you do? Like, do you run away? I mean, I feel like you can't really want to run away, even if my side's getting utterly obliterated. It's like watching a train wreck.
actual combat, their inexperience showed. There was just something better about the Carthaginian ships.
Faster?
The Carthaginian rowers had nicer abs.
Ah,
the
that
entire
makes all the
Carthaginian
difference.
empire had been built on expert seamanship.
Oh.
So when it came to water,
no
the
experience.
Carthaginians were
The
better,
Romans.
and the Romans were wetter.
Yeah.
In their initial skirmish, the Romans were beaten so badly that the consul, Scipio, was given a nickname,
He's got
Asina.
some nice abs.
And if you're wondering what that means, just drop the Ina. So what were the Romans to do? How could they possibly stand up to this Carthaginian superpower? Well,
You guys got to get
there's
abs.
something you gotta understand about the Romans.
Got to hit the gym.
Back when they found that
Ask the
Carthaginian
Spartans.
ship and copied its design, that wasn't a one-off thing. Copying their enemies was as Roman as punishing murderers by sewing them into a leather pouch with a monkey, snake, and rooster, and then throwing them into a river,
Oh,
which is
wow.
a thing they did. Wait,
cool.
what was I talking about? Oh yeah, copying their enemies.
the random
Many
facts.
of the most famous Roman inventions were actually borrowed.
Don't forget
Aqueducts,
all of
chariot
Roman
racing, their gods.
mythology also. Oh, yeah, boom, that's what I was going to say. Again, we're thinking alike. Basically just stole their entire religion.
Even in warfare, the Romans would get pierced by a Sabine javelin, and they'd be like, wow. They'd get hacked to bits by an Iberian sword, and they'd be like, wow.
Wow.
And they'd copy the designs.
Gotta learn how to do that.
themselves. However, they wouldn't just copy it. They would advance it, finding ways to adapt it as perfectly as
makes sense.
possible. And in the case of naval warfare, the Romans realized if they wanted to beat the Carthaginians at their own game,
Wait,
they
does
would
anyone hear
have
this
to
song?
adapt. The
I-
Romans
I'm
excelled
just
at
thinking of
combat on land,
Mr.
not
Incredible
on
becoming
water.
uncanny.
But what if, they said, we could somehow turn a sea
Dun,
battle
dun,
into a
dun,
land battle?
dun.
Sounds crazy, right? Well, they made a couple of tweaks to their warship, and look, here they come again. They must love getting their asses kicked.
These guys are idiots.
Sir, what's that toll thing sticking
What
out
is
of their
that?
ships? They really are idiots. Look at that thing. That'll make them blow over. I mean, look at...
So do they just hook that in? I don't even know what's gonna happen.
Get your camera out. Take a picture of it. I mean, how stupid can you be? Let's just add a big wooden tower to our ship that'll weigh us down and blow us over in the wind. I mean, what does that thing even do?
Ah, that way they don't have to worry. Oh, that's
The
pretty smart.
Romans
I didn't
had
know.
built a big swinging spiked gangway
Bridge?
called the Corvus. So when the Carthaginian ships approached to ram them, the Romans would just slam them. The Carthaginians tried going around,
get on.
no problem. The Corvus could swivel. Try going
Whoa.
behind, the Romans would huddle to the coastline. It was foolproof.
Wow.
Those big, sexy Carthaginian rowing muscles could flex all they want, but they were no match
They weren't
for
fighters.
the Roman mind.
Oh,
So
I
ladies,
thought I was gonna say
you
old
see,
man.
what really matters is what's on the inside.
The true
Please
Giga
go
Chat.
out with me. And with that, the Romans, who had only just recently began dabbling in the art of naval combat, thanks to their ingenious Corvus, had just managed to outclass the Mediterranean seafaring superpower. The Carthaginians were stunned, and the general in charge of the defeated Carthaginian
I'm trying to think what they could do,
well,
really. Like,
You better believe that's a crucifixion.
that's probably not the greatest idea, but
With their
okay.
newfound
Take out
control
your.
of the seas, the Romans
I mean,
could
whatever.
now more easily blockade coastal cities and supply their legions on land.
What I'm like legitimately trying to think what you could have done in that situation. Obviously, there's no projectile weapons at that time. Like I would have, like my initial plan, just like maybe you could throw something at it, but I don't think arrows is really gonna do much. These Romans were pretty much geniuses.
The Romans were now free to unleash their aggression all over
Ketchup?
the island. Haha! Hey Carthaginians, what are you gonna do now that we're free to rampage across the island? We're gonna go inside these walls and close this gate.
Okay.
Oh, come on, guys. Stop messing around. Come out so
Not
we can
bad.
kill you. No. Oh, come on. No.
It's crazy how often this was basically war for a long time.
To counter the new Roman supremacy,
go inside of
the
a castle and
Carthaginians
hide
decided to
while you get
engage in a
sieged,
defensive war of
and
attrition,
then
forcing
just
the
chill.
Romans to engage in siege. After lengthy siege, the war in Sicily became a long, hard, back and forth slug. One by one, cities slowly fell
Feels like
as the Romans gained ground. Occasionally,
very
the
slow World
Carthaginians
War I
countered
sort
and
of
even
thing.
pushed them back, only for the Romans to rebound again. And whenever a city did finally fall, the Romans could delight in slaughtering the entire population and selling any survivors into slavery, which
Oh.
was pretty standard procedure at the time. In
Yeah.
general, the campaign on land was
Did it for the
progressing much
lulz,
slower than the Romans had hoped, and quite frankly, they were getting sick of it. So in 256 BC, they decided that something had to change. Hey everyone, my name's
Look at this
Marcus
guy's
Attilius
chin.
Regulus, and I'll be one of your consuls for this year. Look, as I'm sure you all know, Sicily's being a bit of a drag. Sure, I could go and
Maybe they
spend
should have
my
just
entire
burned
year
down
as
all the
consul besieging one single
fortifications once
city,
they got it.
but they'll never make a naked statue of me for that. So here's
Yeah.
the new plan. I'm gonna
You need a
skip
naked
Sicily
statue.
entirely, take my army, and go right for the heart of
Something I can
Carthage
only
itself.
dream about
I'll
getting one day.
slaughter the men,
Someone-
enslave all the women and children, and when I return,
Squidward makes a
you'll
naked
all
statue
build
of me.
1,000 naked statues of me.
Yes. Yes.
Marcus.
Can you commission that?
Women and children stuff. That seems pretty evil and barbaric. No, Jim, it's perfectly normal in the ancient world. Sometimes we even chop their pets in half.
Wow.
Okay, guys. Looks like the Romans are coming straight for us this time. And what will they do when they get here? They'll kill us all. They'll massacre each and every last one of us. They may even chop our pets in half. That's barbaric!
That's
no,
the
Rob,
problem.
it's actually pretty normal for the time. We'd do the same to them. Who'll protect us? Funny you should ask, Mary. That's kind of why
The
I called
pets.
this meeting.
Put the pets on the front line.
Who will protect us? Protect our families, our homes, our children. You
Oh,
guys?
boy.
Ha!
Hmm.
Don't make me laugh. Why, you're just a bunch of stupid and weak farmers.
Are they? I'm
Simple-minded buffoons.
confused. Is he trying to get
Cowards.
everyone to fight man, woman, and child?
Fools. Rob here thinks enslaving women and children is barbaric. You're a snowflake, Rob. Yes, you are. The fact is, if the Romans manage to land on African soil, we're all gonna die. A terrifying, hideous, unspeakably
I would just be thinking of my
painful death.
escape route, honestly.
Is that the end of that speech? Yes.
What a great wartime speech.
The Carthaginians had to stop the Romans from ever landing in Africa because they believed that would be the end. So as the Romans were building an invasion fleet, the size of which the world had never
D-Day.
seen before, the Carthaginians
D-Day,
were
the
preparing
Roman
an even bigger
edition.
one to stop them. And in 256 BC, as the Roman invasion fleet made its way south, the stage was set for a humongous battle that saw 680 warships,
Wow.
around 300,000 men, fighting to decide the course of the war. To this day, the Battle of Cape Ignomus remains possibly the largest naval battle in human history.
Wow.
All the
How
way
many
back
ships did we
in
find
ancient times.
in the Mediterranean?
So
I
the
just
next time
wonder.
your granddad tells you about the time
Like
he sank
sunken.
a Japanese aircraft carrier, kick him in the nuts. The Romans had a lot riding on this battle. They weren't just sending their warships, but transports as well, full of supplies and horses for their invasion of Africa. They therefore formed a protective
Don't need that
wedge-like
horse.
formation to punch through the long, thin Carthaginian line. The Carthaginian generals, however, desperate to prevent the Romans from reaching Africa, had a plan of their own. As the Roman fleet
How are they gonna
approached,
counteract that
the
bridge thing?
Carthaginian center feigned a retreat, luring the Romans in so their outstretched flanks could envelop them and get around the Roman corvus. A clever plan. But with such a huge battle and so many ships crowded together, the Carthaginians struggled to maneuver as hoped. And in the chaos, 3 separate battles emerged across the huge battle space.
This is
With the number
amazing
of
that we
ships limiting
know this
their ability
information.
to maneuver, the
Or this was
Carthaginians
logs.
became sitting ducks, and all the Romans had to do was start swinging. The Roman center came out on top, and were then able to turn around and rescue their pinned down flanks. The Battle of Cape
Wow.
Ignomus was a Roman.
Wow. Look at this. All sunk. Oh, 24. I thought they sunk the entire other side. So both sides went in with 300 ships, they said. Carthage lost about a third of their fleet right there. Is this anywhere between 30 people and 40,000? Or is this 30,000? I don't know. I would imagine it's 30K to 40K. So Carthage is not going to be able to protect Africa anymore, are they?
3.
Part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2.
After the gigantic battle at Cape Ignomus, the Romans were now free to land on African
So since this is the
soil.
first Punic
And
War,
so, they did.
I'm waiting for the craziest twist of all
Carthaginians chose to
time.
focus on defending the city of Carthage itself.
Because I know this
So
continues.
the Romans immediately took the city of Aspis and were then free to raid and plunder the countryside. They took over 20,000 slaves and a ton of booty. But then, some orders arrived from the Senate.
I'm sure both.
Send home the booty. Oh, but I want to stay. No, Steve, not you. They mean the treasure.
These Romans be thick out here.
Well, we are not watching any more of this filth.
That is such a great addition to the video because I know Oversimplified's videos get played in the classroom all the time. It's really self-aware.
Booty, leaving Regulus and his forces on their own, and they began advancing towards Carthage. Along the way, according to the ancient writer Livy, they encountered a literal dragon.
I've heard about
Now,
this.
Livy was a Roman historian, so his account may be slightly exaggerated, but this,
Did
I
it-
believe.
did it come
As the
to
Romans
him in a
continued
dream?
to
That's
plunder, the
what I wanna know.
Carthaginian people flooded into the city. Now, not only was it in a major panic, But it was so crowded, the people began to starve. Don't panic, everyone!
Oh boy.
Look, I know you're all starving, but I still have food for me.
Oh
So,
man, this would be
you know,
so
It's
terrifying.
not all bad.
Huge Roman force coming at you. You can't really go and run. I know I said just go run away, but you can't go run the Sahara Desert and expect to survive. Catches
Things
it.
weren't looking good for Carthage. They had to do something to stop the Romans rampaging throughout their land.
I mean, at that point,
So they
would
decided,
why
finally,
wouldn't everyone
it was time to
fight
put an end to
like
it. They
every
headed
man,
out
woman, and
set up
child
on rough,
child
hilly
fight?
terrain overlooking the Roman camp, and they prepared for battle. Now, while the Carthaginians were the traditional masters of the sea, on land, they weren't always the brightest. Case in point, setting up in this position, overlooking the Roman camp, was just about the stupidest thing they could have done. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Carthage.
I just feel like if they went kamikaze strats with everybody, if everyone was actually freaking out, I don't know. Maybe it comes down to the whole Carthage thing, just not being go-getters. But just hope that Rome takes so much losses, they're like, this is not worth it.
The land forces actually suffered from a multitude of different issues. First of all, since the Carthaginians were rich, they could afford to pay a huge number of foreign mercenaries to fight for them. These mercenaries actually made up the vast majority of Carthage's forces, and therefore, Carthage's land armies were a melting pot of many different cultures. This, however, meant that if a battle
Were they
wasn't
less
going
loyal?
their way,
Yeah.
there could be loyalty issues. Man, I ain't getting paid enough for this. You Balearic slingers better not be thinking of running away. What did he say? I don't know, man. I don't
The
speak
Romans
Phoenician.
weren't
Let's get out of
necessarily
here.
the same, I'm assuming.
Clearly, there were also language issues.
mercenaries?
The military generals tended to be Carthaginian, but they made a lot of strange decisions. For example, one of the most feared assets of the Carthaginian army were the war elephants. To a Roman soldier who had never even seen an elephant before, this was like fist fighting, a literal monster. Yet the Carthaginians
I talk about
continually
that
kept
all the
placing
time.
elephants in the
Like,
rear.
can you imagine if you've never seen an elephant in your entire life and then that thing's just running at you? It'd be the most horrific thing. I can't even imagine. Just look at these little demons with tusks.
Where they were no use. In a similar fashion, the neighboring region of Numidia provided Carthage with the most skilled cavalrymen in the world. But the Carthaginians often chose to fight on rough, uneven terrain, where horses and elephants were less effective. And so, in this case, when the Carthaginians again chose the rough terrain near the Roman camp, the Romans easily sent them packing.
They had longer pointer
Wow,
sticks.
Regulus.
That's what it comes
We're
down
mere
to.
miles from Carthage.
You got a pointy stick
You sure
and it's
are
long?
amazing. Yes, Steve.
Can this thick
I
man
know.
chill?
Steve, what's the matter?
Double
We've
cheeked
almost
up on a
won.
Tuesday
I
afternoon?
just wish I could be as great as you, Regulus. Steve, you're amazing. I mean, look at this thing. It's unbelievable. I know, but I mean like, at war stuff. I'm such a noob. My tanks always get blown up. I can't even fly an aircraft straight.
What?
Tanks?
Oh,
Aircraft?
I see where this is
What are
going.
you talking about, Steve?
Okay.
I'm talking about free-to-play online multiplayer. Everything was looking up for Regulus. A Roman victory seemed like it was only a matter of time.
He was gonna get his naked
But
statue.
then, Regulus realized something.
Or was he?
He had been consul for almost a year, and his term was coming to an end.
Oh
He
no.
knew that if his successor took over and
He would get all the
finished
glory.
job, then he would get the naked statues.
Oh,
not
man.
Regulus. And there was
I can
no
already
way
see where this is gonna
Regulus
go.
was going to allow that. So he jumped the gun. You there, Carthaginian boy. I want you to deliver a message to your elders. I, Marcus
Thought he was gonna throw him in a
Atilius
pit of fire.
Regulus, demand the total and unconditional surrender of Carthage. Unconditional surrender? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first. Just deliver the message, you punk! He demands your total surrender. What? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first.
Imagine
Hey,
the 12-year-old
that's
that
what
had
I
to get
said. Well, boys,
sent
this
over here to
Roman
do
thinks
this?
We're out. But we're not out.
What an
are we,
adventure.
boys? No, we'll do what we always do in times like this. Hire somebody else to solve our problems for us. Darren, bring in the Spartan.
What?
Regulus's overly harsh demands had the unintended effect of reinvigorating Carthaginian resolve. They brought in a mercenary from the famed land of Sparta.
Wait,
named
really?
Xanthippus, to help dig them out of this situation. And we all know what Spartans are like.
I did not think. I'm thinking of the song.
And immediately took charge. He had to look around and said, "You idiots! Put the elephants in front of the army so they can smash into the Romans and stop fighting."
This is so crazy. How did I never know about this?
Find a big flat field
This is awesome.
so your superior cavalry can do their job. And what's this I hear about you giving a speech telling everyone they're gonna die? Hey, I was just telling the people the truth. You're a politician. Lie to the people.
Why didn't they just get
So
299 more, and then they were going to be for sure fine? All you need is 300 of those Spartans.
River. The elephants, now in the front, smashed into the Roman lines, causing disarray. The cavalry, with total freedom of movement, outflanked the Roman infantry.
Yeah, they had been freaking
Thanks
out.
to this impressive Spartan, the battle was a total Carthaginian victory. And Xanthippus, for his stunning victory, was forced to flee Carthage because the leadership got jealous. Regulus, the Roman consul, was captured during the battle. Legend has it, he was brought before the Carthaginian council, and they made a proposition. Well, Reggie, not looking so good anymore.
No naked statue now.
Looks like we beat you pretty bad, huh?
Because they said the consuls get sent out with the armies.
Now, Regulus, nobody likes a sore loser, do they? No. How about this? We're gonna send you back to Rome, and you convince the Roman Senate to surrender to us. If you fail, though, you gotta come back so we can torture you to death, okay? Okay. You promise? I promise.
I was gonna say, this is weirdly...
Hey guys. Whoa, Regulus. We thought you got captured. I did, but they sent me back to convince you to surrender. Well, should we? Surrender? No! Never surrender! Give them hell, boys. They're at the end of their rope. Anyway, I gotta go be tortured to death now. What? Yep, part of a deal I made. It's a long story. Oh, hey, wait! Regulus! No, it's cool, guys. I promised. Regulus!
He's a man of his word.
We massacre entire populations.
That's what I'm saying.
We chop pets in half.
So why did you get let go?
You can break a promise. No, Tim! You never break a promise.
Was it a pinky promise? Because that would be understandable.
And so, Regulus went back to Carthage.
Wow.
And was tortured to death. And for keeping his promise, he was immortalized as the leading symbol of Roman virtue.
I guess maybe that's why he did it. He did it for glory. He knew that he was going to be worshipped by just doing that. Couldn't be me, though. Now, me personally, I would totally take those levels of disrespect.
After their defeat in Africa, the remaining Roman survivors, still in Africa, were still in Africa, and they needed to be rescued. So the Romans sent their fleet
it's like Dunkirk.
to pick them up and bring them home.
Every metaphor I have is already like World War II.
Grabbed the survivors.
Oh, there you go.
And made their way to Sicily. A great success. But then, things took a turn for the worse.
Storm?
That cloud looks kind of angry. Fear not, coward. If we Romans can build a war fleet from scratch and defeat the Carthaginian Empire at their own game, why then even Mother Nature herself will crumble before us. I laugh in the face of
what
Mother
a fascinating
Nature.
logic.
Ha ha! See? Come on,
logic.
guys. Laugh at Mother Nature with me. Ha ha!
Is this all you got? That's like famous last words. Yeah. I love the horse in the background.
284 ships.
How good are
80%
horses
of
at
the Roman
swimming?
fleet was destroyed. As many as 100,000
I think
men
I've seen an
drowned
elephant swim
in
once.
A terrifying act of nature.
100,000?
Never before
Lost
had
to
Rome lost
How
so many
bad
men.
was this storm? The storm took out more than the Carthaginians. Yeah, holy smokes! That they're gonna blame this on Poseidon, the gods, and it's gonna mess with their head.
In a single incident, 100,000 casualties. For any other
Wait,
nation
Neptune. Sorry,
would
not
be
Poseidon.
crippling.
That's the Greek one.
Any other nation
Oh, man.
would hastily sue for peace. Any other nation would spend
Except for
decades trying to recover. But Rome was not just any other nation. Infamous for
Them
its
Carthaginians got
unrelenting
hands.
determination in the face
I'm gonna
of
fight these
overwhelming
Carthaginians.
odds. Rome said, well, I guess we'll just have to build another fleet.
They did
And
do it in
did.
2 months. I
In
would see
just
way they'd be
3
cocky.
months, they built 220
And then
more
in 3
ships.
months this time.
An astonishing feat. The Romans sent out their brand spanking new war fleet, and
It happened again. What?
they got caught in another storm. This time, a whole nother fleet was lost.
Okay, this is very similar to the Mongolian invasion of Japan. Weird history just repeats itself.
Still, the Romans did not give up. The Carthaginians couldn't believe it. Their enemy had just lost
2 fleets
hundreds of
lost.
thousands of men,
Hundreds
had
of
2
ships,
fleets
thousands.
almost entirely destroyed, and they still wouldn't
They must have thought they
surrender.
were just
As
insane.
one Roman poet put it, the victor is not victorious if the vanquished does not consider himself so. In typical Roman fashion, after a short break, they were once again building another fleet.
They were just
However,
an industrial
for
powerhouse,
now,
weren't they?
after all the disasters at sea, the focus began shifting back to the land campaign in Sicily. The Carthaginians, overconfident from recent successes, attempted to retake Panormus.
You need to bring back that Spartan.
The terrifying war elephants by throwing stuff at them and scaring them away.
Oh.
Having stopped the Carthaginian advance, the road was now open. to
How
the
did they
final
transport those
Carthaginian
elephants? That's what I want to know. How big does the ship got to be? Well, never mind. I mean, if they're like moving thousands, or not thousands, you know, like 20 or 25 men, they could probably carry at least an elephant on board too. Still, where do you put that thing at? Where do you feed it?
stronghold on the island, Lilybaeum. Lilybaeum was an extremely well-fortified city. In 250 BC, the Romans laid siege. The Carthaginian defense, however, was fierce, and skilled blockade runners kept the city supplied. Progress was so slow that the siege would last another 9 years.
This makes me want to visit
To make
Sicily.
matters worse, the
How much of
Carthaginians later sent
can you still
possibly
see of
the
this?
greatest military general of the time, a man named Hamilcar Barca, to the island. He engaged in
gotta
a
be some
skillful
historical
campaign of guerrilla
sites.
warfare behind enemy lines, and for the remainder of the war, he was a major thorn in the Roman side. For now, with the deadlocked siege at Lilybaeum,
Where'd double-cheeked
and
up
the new
Steve
Roman
go? I
fleet
wanna see
at
more of
sea,
him.
Things seemed to be at a standstill, and the Romans had to do something to break the deadlock. Thankfully, the Roman consul, Clodius Pulcher, had an idea. He tried to get things moving by attacking the Carthaginian fleet at Trapana. Now, before a battle, to predict if they would win, it was common for the Romans to look for signs from the gods. This could mean observing the weather or inspecting some cow livers. You know, typical
normal
religion
stuff.
In this case, Pulcher reportedly tried to feed some sacred chickens, but unfortunately for him,
Sacred
they wouldn't
chickens.
eat
How do
a
you-
crumb.
how do you
A
obtain
very bad
those?
sign. Well, he said, if they won't eat, then let them drink. Stupid chickens! We'll observe the weather instead. Gods, give me a sign.
Instantly.
Ignore that. Okay, how about
Give me another
this?
sign.
If I can get this piece of paper into that trash basket, we'll win. Okay.
Just do it
if
again.
I can stand here silently for 5 seconds and do nothing, we'll win.
What are these nakeds dude doing on the ship?
Dagnammit! Pulcher chose to ignore the signs from the gods, and in the following battle, the superior Carthaginians tore them to shreds. It also didn't help that by now the Romans had removed the corvus to stabilize their ships, and without their secret weapon,
Well,
it
that-
was
why?
a disaster, and Pulcher was disgraced.
I wonder if they didn't, I mean, they had to rebuild their whole fleet twice. Were they like, you know what, we don't even need this part anymore? Started cutting corners.
To make matters worse, the victorious Carthaginian fleet then went on to intercept a Roman supply fleet on its way to Lilybaeum. As they approached, however, they saw the signs of an incoming storm, so they took shelter. The Romans, on the other hand, said, "Onward, men! Set sail! We've got to deliver these supplies stat!" But sir, those clouds, don't you think we ought to have learned our lesson by now?
No.
Yes, Brian, we ought to have.
We ought to have, but
We haven't. Another fleet
Oh.
and 50,000 men lost in another storm. Disaster. Now,
how did
at
they
this point,
not just
there
despise
still really
Neptune at this
isn't a
point? Did
clear
they have
winner.
the concept of
Sure,
Neptune?
the Romans have captured most of Sicily and cornered the Carthaginian land forces at Lilybaeum. But the continued disasters
have
at
just,
sea
like,
were
hated
critically
this-
depleting their resources.
guy.
And without a strong fleet, Rome could not win. Meanwhile, Hamilcar Barca was still knocking about and creating even more problems. So, where do we go from here? How does this war finally end? By now, the two sides had been fighting for 23 years.
Wow.
They were exhausted.
That did not feel like
Their
23
money,
years.
their resources, their strength were all utterly spent. The Carthaginians in particular
War
were
exhaustion.
eager to see the war end
Out of control.
so they could get back to trading and making money. So after the latest Roman disaster at sea, they said, look, there ain't no way in heck the Romans can come back again. They can't possibly afford to build another fleet. They're done. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Recall the
I already
Navy,
know where it's going.
repurpose them as merchant ships, and let's get back to making some money. Assuming the Romans would soon
Rome is
make
so
peace,
crazy.
an anti-war faction within the government recalled a large portion of the navy, leaving Hamilcar on his own. The victors appeared to be declaring themselves
severely
victorious.
doubted, I guess.
Meanwhile,
Just
the vanquished
yeah.
were getting ready for round 5.
They
The
just
Romans
won't
built
stop.
another fleet, this time heavily relying on patriotic donations from the upper classes to afford it.
Wow.
And once
And
again,
they're all happy about
they
it.
put
Here you go.
to sea. Sir, the Romans have built another fleet. Oh, for goodness sake, Clarence, can't you see I'm
That
busy
must have been
rolling
annoying.
around
You're
in
just
this
trying to
pile
make
of
some,
money? But sir,
you're trying to get
I
your
don't
bag,
care anymore,
and these
Clarence.
crazy people
I
just keep on trying to
don't
kill you.
The Carthaginian politicians made a fairly lackluster final effort with a poorly built fleet to supply their forces in Sicily. But when the brand new Roman fleet caught them at the Battle of the Aegates, even without
is
their signature corvettes,
241
they dealt them
BC.
the final blow. And that
Well, I think by that
was
point,
that.
20 years had passed. They
23
probably had some
years
pretty
of
experienced
war.
sailors.
Neither side could afford
That was a problem
to
at the
keep
beginning,
fighting,
right?
But the Romans showed that they intended to anyway. The Carthaginians had no choice but to throw in the towel. The war had been long and hard
So they
for both
just lost
sides,
Sicily?
but in the end, it was Roman determination that won the fight. The Romans had spent the entire war trying to find a way to deliver
Kill the
knockout
Carthaginians,
blow.
win the
They
war.
learned how to build a
Very
fleet
simple.
and engage in naval combat. They developed ingenious new ways of waging war. They attempted an invasion of the Carthaginian heartland.
That was pretty wild.
And whenever disasters struck them, they always
Yes.
came back again and again.
Well, if those
The
disasters didn't hit,
Carthaginians, on the other hand,
is there even
spent the entire war watching whatever
more than
Rome
just
did,
one
and
Punic
then
war?
figuring out how to respond.
There's
They
thick
were
man.
much more passive, and so it's no wonder then that when both sides were close to collapse, Rome was the one who figured out how to go that little bit further. In 241 BC, the Carthaginian politicians sent word to Hamilcar Barca that he was on his own and could choose to make peace with the Romans if he wished. Hamilcar was stunned. He felt betrayed by the politicians. Some sources say he refused to
What
even
an
negotiate.
epic beard this man has.
Nevertheless, terms had to be drawn up. Well, Hammy, I'm glad you Carthaginians have finally come to your senses and recognized who the true winner is. How many fleets did you lose? Okay, here are our terms. You leave Sicily to us and return all of our prisoners. You're not allowed to make war against Syracuse or her allies, and you have to pay us 2,200 talents of silver over the next 20 years. What's a talent of silver? Well, to put it in perspective, in the year 2022, that'll be worth around, let's say, 40 million US dollars. Ay caramba! That will cripple us! Wow, we got a real smart guy over here. Yeah, that's kind
the
of
plan.
the point, you dingus. Ugh, I guess I have no choice. I accept. Great! Oh, by the way, we changed our minds. You actually have to pay us 3,200 talents of silver over 10 years. Thanks
that
for
50
accepting.
million?
Dude! See you later. Hey! You didn't let me say uncool!
Oh, yeah.
You didn't let me say uncool.
He's gotta say the
treaty
line.
Was extremely punishing, and by switching up the terms at the last minute, they enraged the Carthaginians. But still, one of the longest and deadliest wars at the time was
Yes.
finally over.
I just wonder if without all those storms, does Rome just completely obliterate Carthage like in a few years? Carthage just had so much luck on their side in this beginning thing.
The Romans had won. They achieved their aim of gaining Sicily. And even though it wasn't part of the peace deal, they took advantage of a weakened Carthage and grabbed Corsica and Sardinia
wow.
as well. Roman expansion beyond the Italian peninsula had just begun. The Romans hoped that now the
Wonder what the
Carthaginians
Greeks
would
or
forever be under their
Macedonians
thumb.
were thinking about this whole time.
Unfortunately, the harsh terms they placed on the Carthaginians
And what was going on in
at the
Persia?
end of
There was
the
probably a
war
big Persian
left a
empire.
growing
They probably
anger.
didn't care about what's
One
happening.
that would come back to haunt them.
Uh-oh.
One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's nice, dear.
There it is! Mustache and all. I wonder why I chose that picture of all the pictures. My mustache was so gross. And the amount of people that caught this Easter egg too, like it was so quick, but so many people were like, I wouldn't have caught it, to be honest. I don't think I would have saw it if I was just casually watching this. I appreciate that Oversimplified knows that I'm among his #1 fans. I'm trying to be double cheeked up like that Roman Steve.
One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's nice, dear. I'm serious, woman.
Why is
Maybe
she,
not in my lifetime, but perhaps
Wonder
in his.
what video it was.
My beautiful son. You.
What video is this man's wife
born into a
in
momentous
watching?
destiny.
Look at all
You
these Easter eggs
shall
too.
be Rome's
Bop it?
greatest
Is that even
enemy.
called that?
You'll tear
Stop
Rome
it.
limb from limb. You'll burn their pathetic
And,
city
these
into
little
the
troll
ground.
guys.
You'll slaughter their people, men, women,
Is
and
that,
children.
Hannibal
My
or-
child, you are Vengeance! Stop
He's
telling
Batman?
our baby he's vengeance. But he is, Barbara. He's vengeance. That may be so someday. But for now, our son has a name. And you should call him that instead. His name is...
That's so epic. Dang, that's so cool. I really feel like we just saw a Batman origin story. Thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, so maybe that would make sense why it took 9 months, is he was getting like 4 videos ready to go. That's kind of what I was hoping for, like this whole time. I'm like, he must be ready to drop like 6 videos. Technically, there are 3 total Punic Wars, but I wonder if like the next 2 is just gonna be the second Punic War and then the third, or do we get 2 videos for each? I would like that. Again, please go subscribe to Oversimplified. He's clearly making very good videos. I didn't really even know any of that, so it's very educational. And big thanks to my wife hates this part.
My name is Walter Hartwell White.
Drew's Argentinian grandpa. California and Nevada bring back Poland ball. Mexican finish $20 is a lot. Chris 3773, Danny Evan Price, Gamers Face Robert LuxembourgLover, Matt Philipp RF, Terraformed Animations. And why am I doing this?